knows every shadow like a lover's name. Her steps a rhythm, a deadly game. Fingers chase the edge of time. She rewrites the world, one line at a time.
Chapter 1. The Anomaly. The glass towers of Mumbai's Bandra-Kurla Complex stood like sentinels against a bruised evening sky, their reflective surfaces swallowing the last traces of monsoon light. Rare streaks of violet and slate drifted across the skyline, mirrored in the high-rise facades that housed banks, data firms, and covert intelligence hubs masquerading as export consultancies. Inside the 14th floor of Tower 7, Ananya Rao sat motionless before a triple monitor array. Her dark eyes scanning cascading lines of encrypted network traffic with the disciplined patience of a seasoned hunter. She wore a tailored beige blazer over a midnight shirt, corporate camouflage, concealing an intelligence officer whose life operated within invisible perimeters. The air conditioning hummed softly, part lullaby, part machine pulse. The glow of her monitors painted faint blue crescents beneath her eyes, a sign of 3 sleepless nights spent chasing silence, routine data, false alarms, and the monotonous churn of economic surveillance. 3 days embedded as a risk assessor for Ananta Exports, a raw front operation monitoring tariff compliance networks, had revealed nothing unusual. Container manifests, customs declarations, pharmaceutical shipment metadata. Predictable, uneventful, the kind of boredom that precedes chaos. Until now, a subtle irregularity crept across her third-tier network feed, packet bursts that didn't belong there, too rhythmic to be human error, too mathematically precise to be random. Her pupils contracted. The anomaly didn't scream danger, it whispered it. She paused, isolated the traffic stream, and redirected it through her private forensic suite. The code unfolded across her secondary screen like a living organism, elegant, modular, adaptive. Beneath what appeared to be standard ransomware scaffolding pulsed something unfamiliar. Algorithmic triggers buried inside supply chain logistics modules. It wasn't designed to steal data. It was designed to influence reality. Her pulse quickened. She leaned back, processing layers of implication. She had seen fragments of this code before, during the Balakot digital fallout in 2019, when she and her counter-cyber unit intercepted malware attempting to rewrite procurement orders inside the Ministry of Defense. But this variant was cleaner, Western. The syntax resembled NSA's Ghost Torch suite, a digital ghost engine that could infiltrate without leaving traditional trails. But this one had been reversed, repurposed as a weapon against economic systems, not communications. A realization spread through her like cold mercury. Someone wasn't stealing information. They were manipulating India's economic pulse to create shockwaves. She ran a comparative analysis. Match probability, 87%, 91%, 94.3%. Her secure tablet vibrated, a muted tremor on the glass-cooled desk. A level 3 alert from the market surveillance team. She glanced at the rolling ticker. The Sensex had plunged 847 points in 17 minutes. Pharma stocks were plummeting. Import-dependent sectors were collapsing in synchronized volatility. The malware had already gone live. Ananya's training surged to the surface. She bypassed corporate protocols and launched an emergency quarantine sequence. A custom-built sinkhole script deployed across the subnet, redirecting command and control traffic to isolated sandbox servers under her jurisdiction. The countermeasure triggered alarms deep in the network. The malware retaliated, altering its own packet headers, switching encryption modes in real time, adaptive AI routines, autonomous counter-forensics. It fought back like an intelligent adversary. But Ananya had been fighting ghosts for over a decade. She switched heuristics mid-flow, tricking the malware into chasing its own echo loops. Each keystroke carved digital silence into order. The trace bounced through Singapore, Dubai, Frankfurt, typical data washing nodes. But then, an anomaly within the anomaly. A tertiary relay pointing to Delaware shell companies. The encryption markers matched NSA toolsets leaked during the Shadow Broker's breach of 2017. Her jaw set. This wasn't freelance hacking or black market code. This was state-sponsored sabotage, the kind meant to destabilize economies without firing a bullet. Her analytical mind began mapping motive. It coincided perfectly with the U.S. tariff escalation 3 weeks earlier, a 50% levy on Indian steel and textiles. It was economic warfare dressed as trade policy. She transferred the most critical packet fragments into her neural vault, a quantum-encrypted environment embedded in her departmental tablet. The upload ticked at 98% when the room changed. The soft buzz of electronics was interrupted by a distinct click, metallic, cold. The security door's magnetic lock disengaged. Ananya didn't turn. She didn't need to. Her monitor reflected 3 figures entering, 2 in corporate security uniforms, 1 in a charcoal business suit holding a folder stamped with the raw insignia. The woman in the suit stepped forward, expression measured, movements precise. "Miss Rao," she said evenly, voice trimmed in authority. "Step away from the terminal, please. You're deemed detained under provisional security protocols for unauthorized network access and potential data compromise." It took Ananya exactly half a second to compute the scenario. Her name was tagged. The access logs had been rewritten. Fabrication, expert level. Someone inside RAW had preempted her discovery by framing her as the intruder. The timing was surgical. The breach wasn't external. It ran through Delhi. There was a mole. Ananya rose slowly, posture calm, expression unreadable. "I've identified an active intrusion in the compliance network. My findings are logged and your credentials show you accessed restricted export databases 47 minutes ago without authorization." The woman interrupted crisply. "Your device will be confiscated for forensic review. You'll be transferred to debrief quarantine immediately." Ananya's pulse steadied, a paradoxical calm that trained agents reach right before impossible decisions. Debrief quarantine was bureaucratic shorthand for indefinite isolation at Raw's Lodi Road facility. Few returned unbroken. Her eyes flickered to the guards, position symmetrical, stance aggressive. The woman's hand hovered near her jacket pocket, fingers brushing a soft bulge. Neural suppressor pistol, most likely. Non-lethal, but disabling. She had 90 seconds before incapacitation. "Understood," Ananya said softly, feigning compliance. She reached toward her tablet, her digital heart, and triggered a concealed biometric failsafe. A soft beep. Then the monitors flared white. A contained EMP pulse detonated across the terminal cluster, shorting active circuits and scrambling magnetic locks. The room plunged into total darkness before crimson emergency lights flickered alive. "System fault," one guard yelled, drawing a weapon. Ananya moved, fluid, silent, surgical. In a single motion, she swept her tablet into her satchel, ducked under the nearest guard's arm, and hit the auxiliary maintenance door release. The sealed panel hissed open, revealing a steel-gray service corridor. "Lockdown. Seal the floor," the woman barked. But the intrusion alarms were dead. Cameras offline. Ananya slipped through the maintenance shaft, her boots barely whispering against the metal grating. The smell of ozone and chilled condensation filled the narrow passage. Behind her, muffled shouts reverberated through the sealed vault. The service corridor narrowed into a maintenance conduit leading toward the lower archives floor. She flicked on her microtorch. Dim red light cut through pulsing shadows of coolant pipes and fiber conduits. Her watch synced silently with her neural module, showing biometric stabilization and proximity pings, security forces sweeping from above, 10 meters out. She crouched at an intersection, recalling the floor schematics she'd memorized. A tertiary exit through the freight elevator bay connecting to the parking annex. She'd have to cross 2 secured corridors, one monitored by heat sensors, the other with biolock checkpoints. The first could be bypassed with a temperature mod hack using her wrist module's microprocessor gel. The second required credentials she no longer had. Her only option now was improvisation. She steadied her breathing, pressed a sequence on her tablet, and executed an algorithm that looped her biometric signature across the local node. The heat sensors blinked offline for a 5-second window. She slipped through. Her mind raced ahead. Who had burned her cover? Raw internal sabotage wasn't new, but the precision of this setup implied insider clearance, possibly someone from the Cyber Countermeasures Division itself. Her thoughts drifted, uninvited, to Colonel Rajan Menon, her former mentor turned Director of Internal Analysis, a strategic genius with calm reptilian eyes. The last time they'd spoken, he'd warned her in his terse Kerala-inflected English, Ananya. The most dangerous breach is never from outside. It's from the desk adjacent to yours. He'd been right. By the time she reached the freight lift, her internal comms buzzed again, encrypted pings bursting through the localized network that should have been dead. Someone was piggybacking her personal signal IDs. A synthesized voice filtered through the static. "You shouldn't have looked so deep, Ananya." Her eyes froze. The voice modulation was AI-generated but constructed around linguistic familiarity. Someone had sampled her past conversations to craft this ghost signature. She cut the feed immediately. Whoever taunted her had real-time encryption access to her comm channel, meaning the infiltration ran into Raw's main intelligence cluster. This wasn't a rogue unit. It was Operation Leverage, the codename printed on an internal memo she'd glimpsed weeks ago, and dismissed as a dummy project used for resource allocation. Leverage. Now the name made sense. Economic destabilization disguised as digital monitoring operations. The freight lift doors opened into a shadowed sub-basement, dimly lit by malfunctioning security strobes. She paced quickly through crates marked with export codes, shell inventory concealing network relay hubs. Each crate housed miniature data transmitters disguised as shipment loggers. This entire basement was a ground relay for raw intelligence traffic moving offshore, which meant one of these crates carried the physical data key for her planted malware sinkhole, a key Raw's mole would come looking for. She had minutes at best. From her satchel, she pulled a slim EMP shard, single use. She slid it between two crates, thumbed the activator. The hum built to a silent crescendo as nearby transmissions froze in mid-cycle. Every device within 10 meters wiped clean. Behind her, footsteps echoed, corporate souls, rapid approach. She pivoted, eyes narrowing. The woman in the charcoal suit emerged from the far end of the corridor, suit jacket smoking from a fused earpiece, expression devoid of humor. "Running won't change the logs, Agent Rao," she called. The title, Agent, not Ms., confirmed what Ananya had already deduced. The woman was not from internal affairs at all. Field-trained, possibly counter-ops. Ananya's mind calibrated terrain and distance. The woman drew the neural suppressor, its tip glowing faint azure. "You've compromised active nodes linked to international partners. That's a level 1 infraction. And framing an active agent to protect a mole is what? Standard operating procedure?" For a fraction of a second, neither woman moved. The air between them shimmered with static tension. Then the power flared once more, triggered by a residual magnetic surge from the EMP shard. Lights flickered. It was all the distraction Ananya needed. She darted sideways, vaulting over the crate stack, rolled and sprinted toward the auxiliary exit. A pulse dart zipped past, hitting the steel frame with a hollow crack. She didn't look back. When she finally burst through the sub-basement stairwell, Mumbai's dusk had deepened to night outside. The glass towers above glittered with cold purpose as she slipped through a delivery dock, blending into the anonymity of urban twilight. Her ID badge now useless, she ditched it into a drainage vent. From above, security drones began scanning thermal signatures, their sweeping cones of light cutting the humid air. Ananya melted into the shadow of a delivery truck, her body slick with rain and adrenaline. She closed her eyes briefly, already planning her next move. If Raw had turned against itself, the truth lay deeper than any algorithm. She tapped her rest transceiver twice, sending a silent distress trigger to a single frequency known only to 3 living people. Then she disappeared into the night. The digital war had just opened its first front, not in cyberspace, but in the city that never closed its eyes.
Her eyes burn cold, her touch ignites. She's the heartbeat in the dead of night.